Hey gang, so you all really enjoyed my top 10 list of EDH planeswalkers that I posted 2 weeks ago with my gameplay video, so I figured what better way to post another gameplay video than with another list. This week I'll be running down my list of top 10 multiplayer EDH counterspells, which I'm sure you probably already see because you read the thumbnail and you saw the title and blah blah blah. Before we begin the list, I'd like to give an honorable mention to Void Slime and Counterflux, two great EDH counterspells who are only not on this list because of their 2-color cost. I love Void Slime, it's a great versatile card, but having to be in 2 colors to order run it is just a bit too restrictive for this list. Number 10. So the first spell, or I should say spells, on our list aren't even blue, and they are Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast. Now, I know what you're thinking, these are pretty narrow, hitting only blue spells, but honestly, how many other colors have counterspells? I mean, besides black, white, green, and obviously blue. I'm including these in my list mostly because of the work they've done for MTG's Ducky's Krenko list. Getting hit by an end-of-turn Cyclonic Rift when you're playing Krenko means you can pretty much kiss your butt goodbye, so holding up 1 mana with the chance to completely stop that is usually a good investment. They can also double as removal for blue permanents, which is just the icing on the cake. Number 9. 5 mana for a counterspell is quite a bit when you think about it. For the most part, it means in order to have enough mana open, you'll have to skip whatever you're going to do and wait to see what your opponent does. This can lead to some pretty boring turns for you. However, as this is multiplayer EDH, chances are you'll be rewarded with a few good targets to swipe with the card, which will help make those bad feelings go away. Number 8. Technically, Time Stop isn't a counterspell. What Time Stop is, strangely enough, is a pretty versatile card for its 6 mana investment. You can use it to stop combos, avoid lethal damage during a combat step, and most importantly, stop spells from resolving. What makes this card even stronger is that all of these spells that are on the stack, when it resolves, don't just go to the graveyard. No, sirs and madams, they're exiled. Yes, you're paying twice the cost of a Dissipate, but the versatility in being able to save yourself from various effects is worthwhile. Number 7. Again, this technically isn't a counterspell in the sense that it counters a literal spell, but rather it delays it. However, it's important to note that unlike the counterspell aptly named Delay, this doesn't have the counter clause written on it, which means it can work on spells like Abrupt Decay and Supreme Verdict. It's also great to use in a counterspell war, paying only 1 for X. There's nothing more disappointing for your opponents than delaying their life-saving counterspell until their next upkeep. Number 6. Glen Elendra Archmage marks the first counterspell that comes with a body on my list. Her cost is a bit on the expensive side, but she does have 2 relevant tribal creature subtypes, which I like. Part of the fun of counterspells is the bluffing element. You want your opponents to never be sure if you've got one or not. Glen Elendra removes this from the equation. Acting much as a creature with Death Touch does, with effectively 2 negates on the field, it can often distract them from potential counterspells in your hand, giving you a psychological edge. Furthermore, if you've got a way to give her the occasional +1/+1 counter, well then things are just dandy. Number 5. Some would argue that this is a free counterspell in the sense that you get to untap 4 lands when the spell resolves, leaving you additional mana for shenanigans. I can see their argument for saying that, but having to have at least 4 lands, not even rocks or creatures, to unlock that potential can sometimes find players using the spell without being fully able to utilize the untap. I will say that its value explodes when you untap lands that tap for more than 1, like say Gaia's Cradle or Serra's Sanctum, or with lands that have special effects. Number 4. Probably the best counterspell ever attached to a creature. Venser also offers us a great deal of utility once he hits the field by acting as a blocker. The fact that he's a creature means that he's easily recurable from the graveyard or by using something like Riptide Laboratory, and when coupled with a land like Caverns of Souls naming either wizard or human, Venser can be an unstoppable answer to, well, uncounterable spells. A powerhouse in many variants of Legacy Miracles, we may lack the elegant simplicity of returning him with Krakus, but his versatility of hitting spells or a permanent earns this wizard a high place on my list of great counterspells. Number 3. The first true free counterspell, Pact is a great way to catch an opponent off guard while you're fully tapped out. Pact is probably one of the more competitive counterspells in this list, seeing a great deal of play in 1v1 matchups, but I would argue that there's merit for it in multiplayer. It can be the difference between a game-winning combo going off or being disrupted, and chances are you'll only ever cast this unless you're about to either win or you're about to lose. Having to pay the upkeep cost can be brutal on your following turn, but it's often better than losing outright. Number 2. I've loved this card since the first time I was able to cast it. I'll be the first to admit that the triple blue cost can be restrictive in anything beyond a 3-color deck, which even then can sometimes struggle, but the sheer flexibility you get in this one spell is incredible. If you took everything everyone ever loved about playing blue, squashed them into one card, I'm pretty sure everyone would universally come up with making a Cryptic Command like spell. Appropriately costed, incredibly powerful, and nearly always relevant, As long as you have the mana, Cryptic Command will have two options that work for you. Number 1. Strangely enough, the most expensive to buy counterspells just so happen to be some of the cheapest to cast. Costing a pittance at 2 blue, it does the two best things in EDH. Countering a spell you don't want to resolve, and ramping you by ever how much that spell costs the next turn. For only 2 mana, you can't really ask for a lot more in terms of what it can do beyond countering, and its lack of limitation when compared to spells like Negate or Mana Leak just really make Mana Drain the king of spell counters. So that's my top 10 counterspells for EDH multiplayer Commander. Most of them are blue, which I'm sure comes as no surprise to most of you. Did I miss any, or do you think that they're somewhere in the wrong spot? Let me know in the comments below. And as always guys, thanks for putting up with my crazy thoughts and for watching this video. So please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.